On a dark night, where darkness envelopes the darkest corners of the human mind, emerges a story that defies the limits of fear and bravery. Get ready to enter the most dangerous territories of war, where heroes are forged and legends are born. Dear viewer, this video is not recommended for the faint of heart. If you are easily frightened, it may be time to switch to something more comforting. For General Jack's narratives are not for the unprepared. However, if you are ready to face the unknown, if you are willing to confront the horrors of war and the extraordinary feats of those who fought bravely, then prepare your heart. Give this video a like and subscribe to General Jack's channel. For what lies ahead is an exciting journey, full of mystery, suspense, and heroism. We are about to uncover the secrets of true warriors, those who challenged the impossible and left a legacy that echoes through the ages. In the dense forests of Vietnam, the deadly hunter silently observed his targets. His ability to camouflage himself was extraordinary. To many, he was just a nameless shadow, but we recognized him as Carlos Hathcock, the most remarkable sniper of the Vietnam War. His ability to concentrate was supernatural, and his determination to pursue the enemy was relentless. He spent entire days without moving, without water or food. Carlos Hathcock was born in Little Rock, a Midwestern town in the state of Arkansas, on May 20, 1942. He grew up in a post-war environment, spending his days playing with his dog in the forests near his home. He dreamed of hunting Japanese soldiers with the old Mauser rifle that his father had brought back as a souvenir from the war. However, Carlos's family life began to crumble when his parents started having relationship problems, and his father plunged into alcoholism. At just 8 years old, Carlos found himself smoking more than ever. It was at that moment that he had an experience that would change the course of his life. He saw for the first time a Marine in his ceremonial uniform, with white gloves and impeccable cap. That image was etched in his mind, and since then, Carlos Hathcock decided he wanted to become a Marine. In 1952, on his 10th birthday, he received his first gun as a gift from his grandmother, a .22 caliber rifle. His eyes lit up at that moment, and from that day on, he spent hours in the forest, practicing his aim alone and hunting small animals for food. 2 years later, in 1954, the fights between his parents reached an unbearable point, and they separated. He moved with his mother and brother to Gayr, where they lived with their grandparents. His mother gifted him with a Winchester Model 37 12-gauge hunting shotgun. Despite his passion for hunting, Carlos never lost sight of his goal of joining the Marine Corps. After getting his father's signature on his authorization, he reported to the recruiting office on May 20, 1959, the day he turned 17, the minimum age for enlistment at the time. His entrance exam recorded that he was 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighed 143 pounds, describing him as tall and slim. He then bid farewell to his mother and was sent for training in San Diego, California. After completing basic training, he was sent to Hawaii, where he joined the Marine Regiment at Kaneal Bay. His incredible marksmanship did not go unnoticed, and in 1960, he became part of the Marine Rifle team in Hawaii, winning the internal championship that year, his first trophy. His impressive results caught the attention of Major The Emblem, who had just founded the first Marine Sniper School. Carlos was one of the first to join this class, in November 1961. That year, after completing the course, Carlos was transferred to North Carolina. On April 1, 1962, he was promoted to Lance Corporal. Even though he was just a Lance Corporal, in August of that year, he was assigned as a marksmanship instructor at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, where he trained Navy and Marine Corps cadets. However, in October, he got into a fight and was demoted as punishment. But in December, Carlos married his girlfriend, Joseph Walton, who was 12 years older than him. In January 1963, he was promoted again, this time advancing to corporal. In November 1964, the couple's only child was born. Carlos continued to excel in marksmanship, and the following year, he received awards in various competitions, including the prestigious Wimbledon Cup trophy at Camp Perry. On August 26, 1965, he competed in the presence of the Marine Corps Commandant, General of Spring. But in a few months, everything would change in the Marine's life. On the other side of the world, in a country immersed for decades in war, the champion was once again on high alert. Vietnam, divided in two, had a communist government in the north supported by China and the Soviet Union, and a capitalist government in the south allied with the United States. After expelling the French in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954, the country was officially divided by the 17th parallel, but the desires for reunification persisted. The Army of North Vietnam, seeking this reunification, silently invaded the territory of Laos and opened in the jungle the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a secret path to continuously supply the communist guerrilla in the south, known as the Viet Cong. The alarming increase in Viet Cong activities in 1964 and the weak response of the South Vietnamese armed forces sounded the alarm in Washington. After an incident in the Gulf in August, the U.S. Congress authorized President Lyndon Johnson to send American combat units to Vietnam. On March 8, 1965, 3,500 Marines landed on the beaches of Da Nang, the largest port in the northern region of South Vietnam, initiating the phase of American ground power involvement in the war. The Marines established their main base in the area of Hill 55, an elevation located 16 kilometers southwest of Da Nang, and from there began operations to combat Viet Cong activity. In the vast expanse of General William Westmoreland's plan, commander of American forces in Vietnam, a sinister shadow loomed. Hundreds of thousands of troops were deemed crucial for victory. In 1966, Carlos Hathcock, newly promoted to sergeant, was thrust into this unforgiving war scenario. Upon arriving in Vietnam, he found himself immersed in a harrowing routine. Assigned to patrols around the base and office work in the military police unit, he witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by the region's guerrillas. Each day brought with it the weight of losing his fellow Marines. However, a surprising turn of events occurred when the major, aware of Hathcock's talent, established a sniper school. The idea of embedding an elite marksman session in every combat platoon came to life. Before long, the sergeant was summoned to the front lines, armed with his Winchester Model 70 precision rifle and accompanied by a target spotter. The stage was set for an impressive series of deadly encounters. Hathcock stood out, his reputation rising with each successful kill. But what he didn't yet know was that something darker and more dangerous was moving in the shadows of the Vietnamese jungle, something that could test even his legendary skill. Weeks of action passed, and I felt incredibly confident in my talent as a hunter. I decided to attach a white feather to my hat. It was a bold and defiant move, but that was my trademark. Back then, soldiers adorned their uniforms with all sorts of trinkets, but I chose the feather because I wanted to highlight my ability to hunt enemies. Snipers don't usually do that, but I was a belligerent individual, and as a marksman, I wanted to flaunt my authority. I became one of the 17 shooting instructors at the Wool School, overseeing over 600 snipers between September 1966 and April 1967. During a 90-day period, the 17 instructors eliminated more Viet Cong than entire battalions operating in the same area. They said I had an incomparable ability to endure physical and mental trials in pursuit of the target. I moved slowly, like a big cat, following my prey for days, advancing only inches at a time. My field experiences led me to compile the 8 Sniper Commandments, which, to me, signaled what every successful shooter should do. 1. Keep the body aligned and in a natural position when aiming. 2. Hold the weapon firmly like a handshake. 3. Secure the buttstock firmly against the shoulder. 4. When looking through the scope, clearly distinguish the target, no shadows. 5. Look at the reticle, The target will be out of focus. 6. Press the trigger very gently. 7. Take a normal pause in breathing. 8. Never give up. The journalist who closely followed Carlos Hathcock's progress in Vietnam recalled a crucial detail. It wasn't just his shooting ability that set him apart, but his incredible capacity to blend completely into the environment, maintaining total awareness of his surroundings. We all have our limits, but Carlos went beyond. He was a true hunter, noticing every movement of nature around him. He spent long periods on missions, feeding only on peanut butter, crackers, and whatever he could find in nature. He remained motionless for days, enduring insect bites and hunger, all to avoid alerting his target. Once, he found himself face to face with a venomous snake. With the Viet Cong nearby, he couldn't move. He stared the snake in the eyes for hours, until the reptile moved away from him. It was at that moment that the enemy nicknamed him Otter, the White Feather, and put a $30,000 bounty on his head. His ability to blend into the environment distinguished him, immortalizing his name. One specific mission stood out: the elimination of a general from the North Vietnamese army. Carlos was inserted by helicopter and carefully approached the officer's command post, remaining on the ground for 4 days and 3 nights, stealthily surpassing enemy sentinels and an anti-aircraft battery. Finally, he found himself facing the camp, just 650 meters from his target. Incredibly, he had entered the protected perimeter, where no American was expected. He waited motionless on the ground, awaiting the right moment. He called these occasions entering his bubble because from then on, he felt no hunger or thirst, having eyes only for his goal. The sun began to peek over the horizon, casting its first rays across the battlefield. It was one of those sunrises that seemed to portend something sinister, something lurking in the shadows of the Vietnamese jungle. Carlos Hathcock, known as White Feather, was positioned, his breathing controlled, his finger ready on the trigger. He watched the enemy camp closely, waiting for the perfect moment to act. Suddenly, the general emerged from his tent, yawning lazily. It was the opportunity Carlos had been waiting for. He adjusted his aim, ready to fire. But at the last moment, the aide-de-camp stepped in front of the officer, disrupting Carlos's plan. Carlos's heart raced as he held his finger on the trigger, immobile, waiting. As the aide stepped aside, revealing the figure of the general, the rifle seemed to shrink into his shoulder. A moment of absolute suspense hung in the air before Carlos could refocus his aim. Then, the general was on the ground, motionless. Chaos ensued among the officers, who ran in panic seeking cover. Carlos remained there, watching the scene, as the helicopter rescued him from the site. But the suspense didn't end there. The Vietnamese command, irritated by Carlos's reputation as a deadly foe, sent their best sniper, known only as the Cobra, to eliminate him. The Cobra was a ghost in the jungle, an invisible threat that haunted the nightmares of Allied soldiers. On a dark night, while Carlos slept, a bullet cut through the air and struck his comrade, killing him instantly. The suspense heightened as Carlos vowed revenge, determined to hunt the Cobra to the ends of the Vietnamese jungle. And so, a few days later, Carlos embarked on a solitary mission, his target designator in hand, entering the dense vegetation where the Cobra used to operate. Suspense hung in the air, tension was palpable, and destiny eagerly awaited the epic showdown between two titans of silent warfare. Perched in a tree, Carlos Hathcock spotted the enemy in the distance, his aim steady, ready to act. But his position was revealed by the fall of a rotten branch, alerting both snipers. A palpable tension hung in the air as they practically traded places in the same area. Then, the sun began to set, casting its last rays over the landscape. The intense glare hit the lens of the Cobra's scope, momentarily blinding him. It was in that instant that Carlos acted, his finger pressing the trigger quickly and precisely. The precise shot went straight through the scope, without touching the sides. It was a matter of seconds. If Carlos hadn't been faster, the Cobra would have eliminated him without hesitation. After eliminating his most cunning opponent, Carlos knew that his path would once again be crossed by another enemy. But this time, it wouldn't be for honor, but for hatred. A female gorilla was particularly feared in that area, known simply as Ye the Woman. A Viet Cong, she was famous for her cruelty, torturing captured Marines with sadism. The suspense increased as Carlos prepared to face this new threat. His instincts told him that this battle would be different from all the others. And as night fell over the jungle, he wondered if he would emerge alive from this confrontation with Ye the Woman. In November 1966, an act of cruelty shocked the military base near Hill 55. A Viet Cong guerrilla tortured a Marine for an entire day, tearing his skin apart, pulling out nails and eyelids, and castrating him. The Marine died entangled in barbed wire, leaving Carlos Hathcock furious. Despite knowing it was a trap, Hathcock was determined to end the woman's career. Following her trail, Carlos found his platoon moving through the jungle. 600 meters from the guerrillas, he prepared for what he would describe as the best shot of his life. As he saw them approaching, his heart raced. When he saw her crouch to urinate, he was sure it was her. His colleagues tried to stop her, but she ignored them. Carlos acted swiftly, shooting to ensure safety. In addition to his skill with the Winchester rifle, Hathcock was known for using a heavy Browning M2 machine gun adapted with an optical sight. One afternoon in February 1967, he spotted a boy riding a bicycle loaded with AK-47 rifles. The boy was an obvious target, but Carlos hesitated upon seeing his innocent face. Nevertheless, he decided to act. With impressive precision, he aimed at the bicycle's wheel, knocking the boy down and scattering the weapons on the ground. He hoped the boy would flee in fear, but he reacted with determination, grabbing one of the guns and aiming at Carlos. It was then that Hathcock made history, hitting the boy from 2,286 meters away, a record that remained unbeaten for decades. After completing his first combat tour in April 1967, Carlos Hathcock returned to the United States as a war hero, with 86 confirmed kills and hundreds probable. The American system required confirmation by 3 people, but it wasn't always possible. However, his legacy as the greatest sniper in history was secured, a true symbol of courage and skill. After his return to the United States, Carlos Hathcock continued his military career, but the horrors of war haunted him every night. Despite his hero status, he carried the weight of the lives he had taken and the moments of terror he had witnessed. However, the call of duty brought him back to Vietnam in 1969. This time, the setting was even darker. Carlos was assigned to a secret mission deep in the jungle, where reports of mysterious enemy activities surfaced. As he patrolled the region, Hathcock began to notice strange patterns in the guerrillas' behavior. Silent movements in the night, sinister whispers in the darkness of the forest. Something was happening, something beyond what the official reports mentioned. On a moonless night, Carlos found traces of an abandoned camp. The flames still burned, but there was no one nearby. The air was thick with a sense of imminent danger, as if something was watching him from the shadows. Determined to uncover the truth, Carlos continued his investigation. But the deeper he delved into the jungle, the more sinister the events became. Ghostly whispers echoed among the trees, and shadows moved stealthily in the dead of night. One night, while keeping watch from the top of a hill, Carlos spotted something that sent chills down his spine. Strange figures emerged from the shadows, carrying something large and heavy. What could it be? And who were these beings moving so determinedly in the darkness? The suspense reached a new level when Hathcock realized he was not alone in the jungle. Something was watching him, something malevolent and relentless. Every move was calculated, every step accompanied by a sense of imminent danger. And so, amidst nervous sighs and pounding heartbeats, Carlos Hathcock plunged even deeper into the darkness of war, determined to unravel the mysteries that haunted the Vietnamese jungle. But what he would discover, and at what cost, remained a mystery as impenetrable as the shadows that surrounded him. Every day, Hathcock felt more engulfed by the mystery and tension that pervaded the jungle. Nights were the worst, when the sounds of the forest turned into sinister whispers and shadows writhed as if they had a life of their own. Even during the day, the sense that something was amiss hung in the air. Swift movements in the corner of his eye, strange noises that couldn't be explained, an invisible presence that seemed to follow him wherever he went. On a reconnaissance mission, Hathcock found traces of an ancient abandoned village. Destroyed houses, trees marked with unknown symbols, an air of desolation hanging over the site. What had happened there? And who were those who once inhabited that place? As the days passed, Carlos Hathcock found himself increasingly entangled in a web of mystery and intrigue. The enemy was more than just Viet Cong soldiers. There was something else, something supernatural, lurking in the shadows and stalking him at every turn. However, Hathcock was not a man to be intimidated by the unknown. With his unwavering courage and tireless determination, he continued to push forward, even when every instinct in his body screamed for him to retreat. And so, as the world around him plunged deeper into the depths of horror and the unknown, Carlos Hathcock remained steadfast in his mission, determined to unravel the dark secrets that haunted the Vietnamese jungle. What he would find in the depths of the darkness, only time would tell. Amidst the horrors of the Vietnam War, Carlos Hathcock faced a second tour of duty, this time wielding a Remington Model 700 rifle. With his sharpshooting skills, he added 7 more confirmed kills by September, totaling an impressive 93 in all. But it was on a fateful day, while aboard an armored amphibious carrier, that destiny charted its course. A hidden anti-tank mine erupted beneath the vehicle, triggering a hellish explosion that engulfed it in flames. Without hesitation, Hathcock escaped the blazing vehicle, but his courage propelled him back into the inferno to rescue his unconscious comrades. In an act of unparalleled bravery, he saved 7 Marines, but not without injury. Multiple second and third-degree burns covered 40% of his body, an excruciating pain he barely noticed amidst the heat of the flames. The day marked the end of his combat career, but not the end of his journey. Evacuated to a hospital in San Antonio, Texas, Hathcock endured months of painful treatment. Even after his recovery, the scars on his body paled in comparison to the battles he fought against multiple sclerosis, an unforgiving disease that slowly eroded his health. Despite agonizing pain and a bleak prognosis, Hathcock remained steadfast in his commitment to the Marines. He helped establish the Sniper School in Quantico, Virginia, where he served as an instructor with tireless dedication. In the years that followed, his health continued to deteriorate, but his determination remained unyielding. In 1979, after nearly 20 years of service, Hathcock retired as a staff sergeant, honored as a living legend of the Marines. However, his legacy transcended the battlefields of Vietnam. Hathcock became a symbol of courage, resilience, and sacrifice, an inspiration for future generations of soldiers who would follow in his footsteps in the pursuit of excellence and duty fulfilled. Carlos Hathcock, a living legend among the Marines, found himself on an unfamiliar path after stepping away from the elite corps. Initially, he plunged into a spiral of melancholy, adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Hahowever, he found a lifeline in his passion for fishing, where tranquil waters offered a refuge for his troubled soul. Over time, Hathcock rediscovered the lost balance, channeling his determination and skills to establish a private sniper training school. His expertise became a guiding light for military and law enforcement, shaping a new generation of elite marksmen. Despite being removed from the battlegrounds, Hathcock remained a revered figure among the Marines. His presence was constant at events, offering his wisdom as a force consultant, a beacon of experience in a sea of challenges. However, the years were unkind to his body. By the early 1990s, Hathcock was already facing mobility issues, his unbreakable spirit being the only thing keeping him upright. On a fateful November day in 1996, aided by his son, who followed in his father's heroic footsteps, Carlos Hathcock received the Silver Star for his heroic act decades earlier. But life, relentless as ever, had other plans. At 56, on February 22, 1999, Hathcock departed from this world. Even after his death, his legacy continued to reverberate in the barracks corridors. The Sergeant Carlos Hathcock Award was established in his honor, an annual tribute to the most outstanding Marine in precision marksmanship training. Additionally, a special version of his beloved rifle, the White Feather, was developed, immortalizing his memory in steel and metal. Carlos Hathcock transcended the boundaries of time, becoming an icon among modern snipers. His teachings remain a beacon, guiding future generations of shooters in pursuit of perfection and excellence, while his courage and dedication continue to inspire those who follow in his footsteps. The memory of Carlos Hathcock continues to resonate through the pages of history, inspiring not only those who knew him personally, but also those who hear of his legendary exploits. His legacy remains as a beacon of courage, determination, and excellence, a vivid reminder that even in the face of the darkest adversities, greatness is attainable. As the sun sets on the horizon, a new generation of snipers emerges, carrying with them the indomitable spirit of Carlos Hathcock. His teachings reverberate in training grounds and on the front lines, shaping the future of modern warfare. And so, as we pay tribute to a true hero, we also remember to cherish every moment and embrace every challenge with the same courage and determination he embodied. Before concluding this tale, I'd like to invite you to leave a like on this video and subscribe to General Jack's channel. This way, you won't miss any of the thrilling war narratives we share here. Together, we'll continue to honor those who gave their all for the greater good.